Hello and welcome to episode 10 of How Strong Is. Today we will be looking at 3 characters because this is my show. We hit a milestone and honestly I can't decide which one to do. But here's the thing, I'll be looking at all 3 types of magic today. That's Divine, Eldritch, and the mysterious third one. As a hint for the mysterious third one, which will be revealed by the end of the video, it begins with the letter C. We'll talk more about that later. But first, a look back at the other characters we did on the show so far. I think there's just something inherently funny about having a trading card based on Joe, your neighbor 3 doors down, who asked to borrow a cup of sugar that one time, but when you needed sugar, he said he didn't have any, and he won't return your calls anymore, and now these cookies aren't as sweet as they should be, and oh god, I've gone off track, help. That's not the song. The hourglass has been retired.
Mr. Clean has captured the sun.
Sure, he captured the sun. You can challenge the devil to a game if you want. Very few people have ever bested him. Okay, so here's the skinny. You remember my neighbor Joe from 3 doors down. So I see that dude at the McDonald's the other day. It would not be a stretch to imagine that Ronald had motive to take them out of the picture, a way to dispose of the bodies, and could quiet any witnesses. So I decided I need to grab a chair. Problem is, the chairs at McDonald's are bolted down. What, like people are gonna steal them? People going around to McDonald's stealing the chairs now? In my good Christian Minecraft server? This may sound confusing, but to be fair, you need to have a very high IQ to understand working.
I want sexual assault. Where's my sexual assault? I pick a red.
I got stuck and I fell down, and anyway, we got to meet the manager. Who will be our 10th character we look at? Obviously, FLO from Progressive. Come on, who else could it be? Chapter 1, Redefining who FLO is.
So, what are some key takeaways from this commercial?
You guys ever seen The Good Place? So The Good Place has this character named Janet that is specifically not a human, but also not a machine. The Good Place wiki lists her species simply as Janet. I bring it up because my thought is that FLO is a Janet. They have similar characteristics. They live in white voids. They're happy all the time. They can teleport and summon items out of seemingly nowhere. She even has a mean-spirited blonde sister named Janice.
Janice, Mom told me you bought a house.
Who's almost identical in both appearance and personality to Janet's Bad Place doppelganger, Bad Janet. Bad Janet lives in the bad place, which is essentially hell. And hey, while she's going back to hell, I wonder if she minds taking the Fractaplots by Robert Bedford down with her. That movie was a problem. Chapter 2, Situational Comedy. FLO herself has done a lot of impressive things. She appears in wacky situations and has a survivalist attitude and sense of self-preservation, but always keeps her name your price tool handy. Hey, did you see the commercial for Made for Us by Progressive, where FLO's trapped in a too many cooks situation where she doesn't know why she's in a sitcom and is just getting annoyed? Like, where does it end? It's just going to find herself in worse and worse situations where she's in sitcom land? I mean, considering how upbeat and positive and powerful FLO is, I'm betting she turns it around and becomes like a Pleasantville situation and we all learn a lesson that the real homeowner's auto insurance bundle was in our hearts all along. Did you know FLO is not the only one of her kind? In Australia, we have another progressive spokeswoman named Kitty.
You must get asked this all the time, but I just have to know.
I know some of you out there try to claim that Australia isn't real, that it's a pretty big flat earther conspiracy. However, counterpoint, if Australia isn't real, then where did Britain store their leftover criminals?
I hope to own a home someday, if they ever release me from this place.
I decided to look into the actress who played FLO for so long, Stephanie Courtney, to see if she did anything else notable. It looks like she was arrested on charges of drinking and driving? I hope she had insurance. Wait, this is clearly fake. Chapter 3, FLO's Stats. Now is the part of the video where we, you know what? I sure did waste a lot of time saying this part. Look, 6 categories, 1 through 7. Let's do stats. Obviously, FLO is divine, so keep that in mind.
My angels.
Durability, 6. Not only have we never seen FLO bleed, We've also seen her in survival situations overcome impossible odds and still hold on to her name your price tool. Although her durability isn't entirely clear, I think it's safe to say she's as durable as a car and equally as insured. Energy, 7. She's basically a Janet with her incredible powers. Fighting skills, 3. She's always fighting to get you the best rates on your insurance. Intelligence, 7. Flo can speak the ancient lost language of insurance, and maybe it's just the millennial man-child in me, but that seems pretty gosh darn smart. Speed, 3. Average human speed augmented by occasional short distance teleportation. It's pretty sweet. And strength, 5. There's not really footage of Flo fighting anyone, but since she's functionally identical to a good place Janet, and Janet is pretty strong, I think this fits fine. Next character, let's keep this going, Garfield!
Ladies and gentlemen, Garfield and friends.
Chapter 4, Redefining Who Garfield Is. Hey, starting up with an excellent post by Tumblr user Janir Jinabu for calculating Garfield's strength based on the May 21st, 1991 strip in which Garfield pulls a rug and topples both John and the armchair over. He, and I'm assuming the Tumblr user is male, which is most probably a mistake, but anyway, he uses the average weight of similar armchairs sold on Amazon.com to get a weight of the chair first, then finds the exact average weight of someone John's height and approximate age. And then he calculates that along with the idea that lifting things is different from dragging things, and adds those numbers to be roughly 278 pounds, which Garfield moves by dragging the rug at a high speed with low effort, and we know it's low effort because he's smiling and also notoriously lazy. The Tumblr user also explains that he's using a Dungeons & Dragons player guide to calculate stats, and it shows that Garfield counts as a small creature, so his carrying stats should be divided by 2, but also that dragging counts as 5 times the carrying stats. So that's, like, it's pretty awesome, but also I can't use that since it's Dungeons & Dragons numbers and I need to use Marvel.com numbers. Still though, quite impressive. Chapter 5, The Impact of 1978. Probably the most well-known Garfield strip is the Pipe strip. In only 3 panels, Jim Davis delivers one of the most amazing pieces of art the world has ever known. There's not much that can be said about the Pipe strip that hasn't been said in the 61-minute long video done by Lasagna Cat on the subject. Instead, I want to bring it up for a different reason. The strip came out in 1978. 1978 has become a very important year for the How Strong Is series. We at the Tidepool Orchestra are very interested in this year. Let's recap. In 1978, it was the year Mr. Clean captured the sun. 1978, the year Hamburglar was on trial for killing the burgers of McDonaldland. 1978, the year the Godzilla cartoon premieres. In 1978, the Garfield strip comes out. Now where could my pipe be? Actually, you know what? Just all of Garfield started in 1978. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on in 1978, but why? Garfield actually started in 1978 and changed everything. See, once Garfield came onto the scene, he immediately displayed immense eldritch potential. Garfield is actually quite the terrifying creature. His hunger is absolutely insatiable. He loves lasagna, and he hates Mondays. I decided I needed to get to the bottom of this. Clearly, Garfield came out onto the scene in 1978 and has created a horrible pop culture war that could only be stopped with drastic measures, causing the resurgence of Godzilla. Lucky the Leprechaun must have relied on his recently added Blue Diamond charm, which, come to think of it, I don't know what power that had. The son of Sam Killer was finally caught, the Hamburglar was on trial, and Mr. Clean finally captured the sun.
Mr. Clean has captured the sun.
Why did Mr. Clean try so hard to capture the sun? Was Garfield just that powerful? I had to ask someone. The only person I knew who was around back then was Joe. It pained me to go 3 doors down to my neighbor Joe's house, but I figured that was the only way to know for sure.
Oh, hey, I wanted to return this to you.
What?
Well, you let me borrow a cup of sugar a while back. I've been meaning to return it to you.
Thank you.
Well, it's really no problem. It's always good to see someone lend you something in good faith. It's always nice to see some good in the world.
Chapter 6, The Abyss. Beginning in October 1989, there was a series of Garfield strips that showed the end of the world, or the end of his world anyway. Garfield goes through the house and realizes that John and Odie aren't there anymore, or perhaps they never were. There's a certain level of absurdity here. To make a newspaper comic strip cat suddenly go through one of the harshest ideas of what hell is. Look, we make jokes here, so I have to state right here, right now, I'm not joking about this. This is a real thing that happened. Jim Davis, creator of Garfield, really engineered a week of daily strips that created a terrifying peek into what it would be like if everything you knew was gone. That's what Garfield is all about. Pushing the limits of what you can and cannot do, of what you should and should not do. For example, in 2007, they put the word fuck in a movie and aired it on Cartoon Network. I don't understand the world of Garfield, and hopefully I never will. Chapter 7, Garfield Stats. Garfield stats, let's go. He's Eldritch, by the way. Durability, 7. After the rest of his friends and family died mysteriously, he was the only remainder. Maybe he has 9 lives. Energy, 2. Garfield is quite lazy, but perhaps it's due to using all of his energy to project his own wonderland, where his friends are alive again. Fighting skills, 3. Garfield has fights in the comics surprisingly often. Intelligence, 7. Garfield has been able to create realistic copies of his friends and families for 30 years now, and very few people realize this. Speed, 2. He is a cat. Strength, 4. Hear me out, I had to convert this Tumblr user's calculated score of 17 for Dungeons & Dragons into account, and according to a Nerd Archery post, Spider-Man has a strength of 8 in Dungeons & Dragons. Since Spider-Man has a 4 in Marvel stats, that means I just have to take Garfield's total and divide it by 2. But he's also a small creature, so it gets divided by 2 again. This puts at 4 and a decimal, and I ain't doing no decimals. Now for the third character we're talking about today, Crisbo Hers, a man who needs no introduction. Chapter 8, The Safe State Gamer. What, you've never heard of Safe State Gamer? Ridiculous, absolute nonsense. Can't believe you would lie to me like that, straight to my face, but hey, I'll humor you. So a long time ago in the old days, we had this guy named James Rolfe who went online with video game reviews and was known as the Angry Videos Game Nerd. And soon after he started, this guy named Chris Bors, us to tears, jumped on the screen to capitalize on it. For some reason, the irate gamer quickly became a YouTube partner, and YouTube started pushing his videos on everyone as recommendations and became quite popular. So popular, in fact, that he was quickly made fun of by a series of video makers who loved to just take the piss. Enter Crisbo Hers.
Well, howdy fans, and welcome to another edition of the Safe State Gamer, coming to you live from via satellite here in my brand new studio. I apologize, as you can see, I haven't finished unboxing my possessions yet, but if you stick with me, I'm sure we're gonna have a great show for you today. With me, as always, is a video game sprite. If I can figure out how to insert one with Windows Movie Maker.
You may notice his name is clearly based on Chris Bors. The Save State Gamer is like, how do I put this, tier 3 celeb knockoff? So here's the thing about Crisbo. Early on, it's very clearly just a parody game review show. Top 5 Nintendo DS guy games, Wii Wheel Review, Freddy Farkas, good stuff. Then, later on, it gets into the crazier stuff. The parodies get more outlandish, more flanderized, more exaggerated. We used to get jokes like this.
There were so many great characters to choose from, and who could forget that catchy jingle? There's Gilligan, the Skipper 2, the Millionaire, and his wife, the Movie Star, Blue Diamonds, and Purple Horseshoes.
And now we get jokes like this.
I mean, what does this even mean? I know what fall is, and I have a vague concept of out, but 3? What the diarrhea dick waffle is that supposed to mean?
Chapter 9, Time Travel. It was in his video Safe State Gamer number 7, History of Video Games Part 1, Magnavox Odyssey, when he builds a time machine to take him back to the past so he could play an Odyssey system himself.
Ah! This doing some research is taking forever! If only I built a time machine to take me back to the past so that I could play an Odyssey system myself. Wait a minute, that's it! A time machine to take me back to the past so that I could play an Odyssey system myself. I'll build a time machine to take me back to the past so that I could play an Odyssey system myself.
This video is where Crisbo really becomes an actual character in his own right. His own self-aware attitude to what's happening, creative use of vulgar humor, and absolute disregard for caring about the actual title of the videos he's making. A weirdly almost reverse clickbait technique I like to call the Crisbo Hairs principle, which is when someone puts a title on a video which is not indicative of the insanity therein. Whoever decided to end the series should go to hell. And hey, while he's in hell, does he mind taking down the Stoverlord series with him? That shit was a bitch-ass cockadillo. This time travel method is interesting, as he does it using a Wii wheel.
After 40 seconds of work, my own time machine.
This time travel method is interesting, as he does it using a Wii wheel. There are many different time travel methods made over the years, be they done by driving a car, using a pendant, or done using an hourglass-shaped marshmallow, which has been rightfully discontinued. Lucky was too powerful, believe me, I know what I'm talking about here.
But if you're me from the future, then why aren't you rich from all of my t-shirt and DVD sales? Fuck. Oh, it hurts! It fucking hurts!
There are a lot of different time travel methods. The fact Crisbo also states out loud that he creates a time machine after only 40 seconds of planning makes him more intelligent than Rick Sanchez, who, although he is basically a god, has a box of time travel stuff in his garage that he never uses because they don't work. Anyway, Chapter 10, Crisbo's Stats.
It's almost as good as those old commercials where the Kool-Aid Man would bust through a wall and throw his arms out and say, "Oh yeah!" really loud. Now, could you imagine if the Kool-Aid Man did that right now at this very moment while I'm recording this review and describing that kind of thing happening? Wouldn't that be a great joke?
Durability 3. Episode 9 of the series shows two alternate realities, one where he reviews Zombie Nation and one where he reviews Color a Dinosaur. In timeline A1 Steak Sauce, he is destroyed by a gas explosion. Energy 3. He has access to Horsefellow's wish powers, which I believe have residual effects, but otherwise his own personal energy is pretty low. Fighting skills 1. The only thing he seems to fight is his own gay thoughts.
One more thing before we move on. The gay porn box in the background. Crisbo's sexuality is something that people ask about very frequently. That was never a shot at Boars. I don't think anyone really suspects that. My sort of idea of the character...
Intelligence 7.
Finally, after 40 seconds of work, my own time machine.
He builds a time machine in only 40 seconds. That's gotta be some kind of record. Speed 1. Average human speed, even if he does seem a bit slow sometimes. Strength 1. He's barely strong enough to open the fridge. Breakfast is ruined. Alright, so now we have 3 characters statted out, and I'm sure you're wondering, what's that kind of magic I've been talking about that one time?
Hello, fans. Save State Gamer here, bringing you tidings of great joy and Christmas wishes of the season for happy holidays for all the holidays of the season, and festivities and season's greetings, and gladness and tidings of great joy for all.
It's Christmas magic. I know, that sounds stupid. Hear me out. Santa pushed a divine force out of Christmas, took it over, and so is strong against the divine. Divine is strong against Eldritch, and Eldritch has the Krampus, which has made a resurgence recently, and is taking over Christmas again. Look, it's asinine, but it fits the rock, paper, scissors motif. And Crisbo displayed Christmas magic in one of his first videos. So there you go. Anyway, that was the Season 1 of Tidepool Orchestra's How Strong Is series. I'm gonna be AWOL for at least a week or two, just letting you know. How did you enjoy the season? Let me know down in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends on various social networking platforms. It would really help us out. Until next time, this has been Brian of the Tidepool Orchestra. Good night, and I love you.
And so ends another great and informative review, wherein I forget that the character I play is supposed to be angry about things. Anyway, I hope this was educational for you, and that maybe sometime you'll want to hang out or something. I have a lot of free time. Name the place. I don't mind driving. I don't mind.